Hello, this is Malcolm Bowden. I'd like to deal in this video with the accusations of Andromedaswake regarding my geocentric video. If you would first like to see his video, then go to YouTube and search for the following two videos. Then you will see what he has said in them. I will not respond to his childish gimmicks to ridicule me. This is a well-known ploy called the ad hominem tactic. In order to distract attention from the weakness of their case, they attack the character of the person. Evolutionists do it all the time. But the virulence of his attack does provide one piece of information. Just like the politician who put in the margins of his speech notes, "Argument weak, shout louder," the extreme level of his ridicule tells me that Andromeda's arguments are so weak that he has to cover them over with his infantile ridicule. He is certainly a past master at sophistry, the definition of which is the use of arguments to deceive. And I will now examine how he uses this technique. In most of what follows, he often turns an experimental result on its head so that he can imply that I have misrepresented the point of the experiment. It is like me shooting straight at an open goal, but he then moves the goalposts and claims that I have missed. In this video I will not make criticisms of relativity, because I will here concentrate on the criticisms that Andromedaswake makes of my geocentricity video. I hope to produce another video showing up the weaknesses and contradictions of relativity theory at a later date. So let us look at the first of Andromedawake's misleading claims.
Now allow me to give you Michelson's conclusions in his own words, and I quote, "The result of the hypothesis of a stationary ether is thus shown to be incorrect, and the necessary conclusion follows that the hypothesis is erroneous. This conclusion directly contradicts the explanation of the phenomenon of aberration, which has been hitherto generally accepted, and which presupposes that the Earth moves through the ether, the latter remaining at rest."
The first thing to notice is that he is baffled by the null result, and admits that it seems that we are not moving through the ether. Remember, in all these comments in this video, he and all other scientists assume the orthodox view that the Earth is moving around the Sun at 30 kilometers per second through a stationary ether. His result shows that this is not so. He therefore says that the ether is not stationary. He implies that some of it may be travelling along with the Earth around the Sun. He openly admits that this contradicts the aberration evidence that we are travelling through a stationary ether, because in the heliocentric model we have to tilt our telescopes slightly forward because of our speed through this stationary ether. This tilting eliminates the possibility of the Earth entraining some of the ether and carrying it along with it. His bafflement is obvious, and he has no real explanation. Wikipedia notes, "Morley was not convinced of his own results and went on to conduct additional experiments with Dayton C. Miller." Andromedaswake then says,
"You see, Malcolm, Michelson and Morley did not set out to prove or disprove the motion of the Earth."
When I heard this, I could hardly believe my ears. Michelson worked with Miller, and Wikipedia says he, that's Miller, consistently measured a small positive effect that varied with each rotation of the device, the sidereal day and on a yearly basis. His measurements amounted to only about 10 kilometers per second, instead of the 30 kilometers expected from the Earth's orbital motion alone. Michelson and Morley most certainly were trying to check the motion of the Earth through the ether, its motion around the Sun of 30 kilometers per second being the most obvious movement they should detect. Other motions may be taking place, but this 30 kilometers per second motion, at the very least, should have been detected. Andromedaswake continues,
No, Michelson and Morley set out to test for ether wind.
I would ask you, what is the difference between checking the velocity of the Earth through the ether and the ether wind? In all this, I have stated what are accepted facts, but again he has deliberately reworded them, using the word wind to give the impression that I have misunderstood the purpose of the experiment. He then claims that
Ether was a fairly sticky hypothesis. Many scientists were fond of it, and as such, it did not immediately die off.
he is suggesting here that some scientists were already doubting the existence of the ether before the Michelson-Morley experiment. This is again misleading. To my knowledge, no reputable scientist questioned the existence of the ether until the Michelson-Morley experiment in 1887. It was these shattering and seemingly inexplicable results that shook the scientific world. He then says that
Inevitably it would be Fitzgerald, Lorentz and finally Einstein who nailed up the coffin for the ether. But
he implies that Lorentz abandoned the ether and accepted relativity. Yet again, this is completely false. The real truth is that neither Lorentz nor Michelson ever abandoned the existence of the ether. Lorentz doubted relativity and merely produced his transformation formula, which used the ether to deal with the null result. Michelson called relativity a monster. To continue.
secondly, it is by no means a rushed-out invention. Both Fitzgerald and Lorentz hit on the idea completely separately.
The fact that they took 6 years to perfect a mathematical explanation does not prevent them putting forward a theory to explain the results soon after the experiment. Lorentz's contraction looked very much like a hastily concocted theory to get scientists free of the obvious results of the Michelson-Morley experiment. In fact, Arthur I. Miller called it a physics of desperation. This confirms my claim that the theory was concocted simply to overcome the clear inference of the surprising null results. He finishes his first video by saying,
What does any of this have to do with evolution?
everything, but I will deal with this comment in a summary at the end. Now let us look at his second video.
It turns out that no matter how fast you go, light always appears to travel at the same speed from your perspective.
Again, he is wrong. What is constant is the speed of light in the ether, but it does change relative to the speed of the observer. How else does he explain the movement of starlight to the blue end of the spectrum as we approach them, and the red end as we move away? Similarly, it is claimed that the galaxies are rushing away from us, and the faster they move, the redder their spectrum, due to the Doppler effect. Thus the speed of light is constant in the ether, but if either the source or the observer are moving, then relative to them the speed of light is not constant, as proven by the change in the spectrum.